getting into game very shortly.
So, FPX JDG, first game of them in the Rumble stage. They played twice in the group stage. They played 2 series between them there. As we get through the bans, as we said, Canavi not going to get that Nidalee. Also not getting the Zyra 2, which is one of the picks he beat FPX with in the group stage. However, Rumble falls through. We rarely see this get through the draft. Immediate first pick.
I wonder whether they see an Ezreal Leona in rapid succession. I would have said that because the Leona is banned, so instead they take the Tristana alongside the Ezreal. That combo in particular has been so obnoxious. The later the game goes, the range of the Ezreal, the range of the Tristana once the passive kicks in, alongside all that mobility, can be a bit of annoyance for the likes of a Rumble to manage in the long term.
So JDG, they're getting themselves the other choice of that AD mid as well. I think that Yagao has been fantastic on the Tristana. I think his Corki's still been fine, but the Tristana being taken away by FPX still very, very important. JDG, they don't have to lock in an AP jungler now. They have that Rumble. That is enough. You could go towards something like a Sejuani if you really wanted to and just say, look, get that engaged, get something which can combo up with that Rumble.
Just saying Lee Sin buffs, Canavi Lee Sin, could be fun as well. Doesn't necessarily have the best kill combos in mid lane, which you often like to see with the Lee Sin, but you know, I feel like they can make it work anyway, and a few fun hovers here for Ruler. We'll see what the decision is if they are debating an AD carry. It will be the Zeri, a champion he made a serious mark on last year in spring in particular.
And when you see an Ezreal on the other side, you know you're going to be okay in laning phase. It allows you to go towards this Zeri more than fine. And of course, now we have the Cassante locked in for ZDZ, who has come in for Shallow, who on FPX. Shallow, who has stepped back for personal reasons. That has been the reason communicated to the public. So ZDZ coming in, he was on Weibo, was on RNG, and now he finds himself in his 3rd team in less than a year. So he'll be picking up that Cassante into the Rumble. It's a matchup which survives and hopes to out-team fight, but Rumble still has very much a leg up in the matchup.
Yeah, it does feel like, I was chatting with people like Aragon, he was saying, look, I've just not been able to find something that works super well into Rumble. You can find ways to mitigate it a little bit. You can find ways to eventually get to a point where you can match it, but the problem is you're playing most of the game an item down, even in a counter matchup, if you're playing for that later stage. So just so obnoxious. I think looking at the upcoming patches, I believe Rumble alongside a lot of those AP junglers will be getting nerfed, and you can't blame Riot for doing it. They have been so oppressive and so unmanageable for so long. Ban's now completed for the second phase. The Pike away from life is something of a specialty, and of course Milky Way's Lilia taken off the table.
What we saw FPX play that against anyone's legend, and it was great for the first couple of levels, and then suddenly the Pike did end up falling off. But still, life showing that he could snowball that lane is not something you want to be giving over for free. JDG, they need a bit more teamfight engaged, something to help out that Rumble. They're looking towards Missing's Relson, which he's been very comfortable on for a very long time. That's an easy lock-in. Fine versus the Nautilus too. I still feel like they need an extra little bit of engage because they are against that Cassante, which can lock the door very effectively closed in front of that Rel.
Could just take away the Diana from Milky Way as well, but it's only a hover and a bit of a shout out to their opposing number. A couple options being considered. As you said, they've already got enough AP in the likes of the Rumble. They can look towards something with a bit of a different profile for Canavi, and it is the Lee Sin that's gotten some buffs. Certainly a specialty. Good pick now, but the overall engage is still a little bit reliant on single target, on those skirmish options over a full team fight.
Yeah, so it's not going to necessarily be the easiest team fight from an even game state from JDG, but they do have great skirmishing. Winning lane in that Rumble, Corki's even enough, and so is the bot lane too. So if Canavi gets towards that top side and gets to mess with the Taliyah, get into that Rumble's lane and start forcing early skirmishes in the way that Canavi's Lee Sin is so proficient at doing so, that's definitely a win condition for them. FPX, they pick up the Taliyah jungle for Milky Way. He's had some strong games on that, and it brings through some consistent magic damage for the team. It does mean that you are now playing an immobile AP jungler into a Rumble Rel with potential kicks from the Lee Sin as well. He will need to position perfectly, otherwise FPX are going to, well, JDG rather, going to rock him.
JDG as well. Maybe needs to be a little bit wary of the minefield with so many dashes and so many of their champions as well. The Zeri, the Corki, the Rel, the Lee Sin, all going to be stymied by that. Add in a Cassante and a Nautilus, and if you over-engage, if you mistime some of those cooldowns, could still end up in some danger in those skirmishes regardless. So lots to keep our eyes on here in terms of who's going forwards first and who has what cooldowns available.
So this will be game 1 of these two teams facing off in the Ascension group of the Rumble stage. Winners from a single round ROM in a best of 3 will be going towards playoff spots. If you end up going into your bottom 2 of this group, you end up fighting for your lives in kind of a last chance qualifier for the last remaining playoff spots. You will only face each other once each of the teams in each group will do so. And so this rematch from group stage, hopefully JDG can see it through to yet another victory for them.
The camera pans down to the rift. Crowds will begin to cheer out for their favorite teams, the JDG Skybox, there on our screens. I think understandably the JDG home crowd a touch louder there than their FPX rivals, but often the way when you have that home crowd advantage. Nothing super spicy at the level 1 as yet. Canavi is debating maybe heading in to put a ward down on those Raptors early, and Milky Way a little bit nervous about where the likes of Sheer could have been, so we're throwing a threaded volley into the red buff bush.
And of course, Canavi, if he starts to with that Q as well too, very, very dangerous. So don't really want to be walking into that defensive vision setup for FPX. We did say that FPX, one of the ways that they could try and get ahead of JDG is with some like effective early game skirmishes, some effective level 1s. They don't really have a good level 1 comp. They want to be playing defensively against Canavi's Lee Sin, and this is one of the problems about facing JDG, and I'm glad that JDG are indexing into this more. If you give Canavi an early Wrecking Ball jungler, this guy snowballs the bot, like the early game, better than pretty much everyone else, maybe except for TN.
So very good at doing that, and the Lee Sin with the buffs can certainly allow for a bit more proactivity. It was something you were asking for from Canavi anyway, right? Like, look, you are the engine to make JDG snowball an early game when otherwise they often do end up a little bit more passive. Nice hook trade there onto Missing, who didn't have the aftershock rolling. That means the turnaround damage is pretty huge, actually. Ignite burned on both sides, and both supports taken pretty low, but the Q after it from Doctam Chunks rule, and that will be lane control ceded over to FPX spot lane.
Yeah, I don't really know what Missing is doing there, taking all of that damage. Doesn't manage to get himself like any decent trade back. The Ignites are traded 1-for-1, so it's not even like you get yourself a Summoner Spell advantage. FPX get themselves now pushing mid, pushing bot lane. That gives Milky Way so much ability to play safely in this early game. Canavi is going to have much less options. This is good for FPX.
Kerdex gets a fully stacked explosive charge on top of the Corky's head, and Yagao doesn't really get to trade back as clearly there, so good moment for Care. Of course, we have seen this matchup quite a lot in recent times, and of course the fleet footwork will allow Corky to sustain back a little bit of that damage differential after the trade.
Yeah, so there is a difference between the matchup with the Trist going for the fleet footwork or going for the press the attack. If you go for the press the attack, you're much more looking for the big trades, whereas the fleet footwork is much more about grinding things out. The Corky wants to take shorter trades, whereas now the Trist wants to take those longer trades, see if they can get something big. Big face check from Ruler though. This laning phase has really been quite difficult for Ruler and Missing.
Trying to get the level 3, and that'll bring some of that HP bar back, and credit over to Missing for at least forcing Doctam to Arcane shift away rather than look for some more DPS. Milky Way, however, has path bot, got himself here before Scuttlecrab spawns, so was on a good timer to potentially look for a bit of a lane gank, but will decide against it. Still off vision, importantly there, snuck out just behind the line of vision the minions would have provided, so gets over towards this Scuttlecrab, and a sweeper will come on down from Life to clear out that ward that was just placed. Level 1 sweeper from Life, not looking for a trinket in inventory.
And I think that makes a lot of sense, just to go towards that first sweep to make sure you can stop those junglers having quite as much ability to play safely through various tri-brushes and stuff like that. So, FPX doing well in mid lane, doing well in bot lane in regards to that. Even top lane has been, well, no, top lane, you're expecting this CS advantage to come through. ZDZ really needs to make sure he gets a lot of this next wave, though, otherwise things start getting quite problematic. You end up having a worse first back. Things start getting really, really good for that Rumble. Sheer has always been a laning specialist player, so the fact that he ends up getting himself a good... Hang on, Ruler, he's walked up a bit far here. That's a good trade, but...
That's a big chunk, but the dredge line being wide gets him in danger, still gets the passive order. Now missing the Shattering Strike means Ruler does preemptively press the barrier key.
Yeah, both of these supports not quite landing their big engages, so FPX maybe walking away quite relieved that that last one didn't land as well, to at least even up the scores in terms of those skill shots. JDG at least managing to even things out. And as we said, FPX, they kind of need a strong early game. The fact that they've managed to get Talia onto onto a safe early clear, that's something, but they can't stop there. FPX had good early games versus JDG before. They didn't manage to close them out. They need something more than this.
A slight micro note here as well. Remember, Missing's Q on the Rel. The Shattering Strike does break shield, so that barrier could be a little bit less effective if the Q is timed right. Obviously has to be a little aware of that. He's trying to ensure they won't die to the upfront burst that JDG have got in spades across this comp. Hook, though, onto Missing, who face checks the Nautilus again, and first blood goes the way of FPX.
I mean, your AD carry's not even looking to stay around. You are very much alone in that bot side. Walks into Fog of War. Missing goes down. FPX, we did say, strong early game needed. They get something. If they get the Dragon, that's definitely a better start for them too.
Hang on. Oh, roots him out of the queue? That's fantastic. Starts build anyway! Oh, Canavi, that's unreasonable. We'll still go down for it, and a reset from Care will allow for something back. I do not have any idea how Canavi was allowed to smite that. I thought he was out of range.
Well, I mean, the initial Q cancel came through. The hook pulls him out of the air, still gets the smite, and FPX, they get the kill onto him. That's gold, but they lose the Dragon. So JDG, they somehow get away with that, despite that should have been a massively losing situation for them. And an early Infernal Dragon, you'll very much take that when you have lots of high damage members on your team. FPX, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad. Going back to the replay from this, the Q hits, threads the needle around life, pulled out of the air, still gets himself through onto the Dragon.
What?
3 HP after Milky Way smited it. So it is, in fact, an early smite from Milky Way.
He tried to do it with the seismic shove, but it didn't do quite enough damage to bring it down to 600, so a slight miscalculation on the burst. Canavi goes down, but does stop the early objective. We'll get to go and take these grubs as well. So JDG, despite some woes in terms of the kills, are getting a hold of those objectives.
They are, and now suddenly if you get yourself towards multiple grubs, then you have Rumble with a winning lane, and you potentially have the ability to put Corki into a side lane too with that. That's obviously very, very important. Looking through to a trade in mid lane. Presumably this is how Care ended up flashing, because of course Missing was also in the lane. Maybe just didn't spot that Rel. Going around the corner. And now FPX. Need to be a little careful there. If Missing's on the same screen and you've already used your Arcane Shift, good chance he's flying at you after that point. So anyway, early game, it's not really been about big ganks. It's been more about these early objectives and skirmishing in River. Need to see Canavi get something done now. He's at that level 6, and we know we rather need to see him doing something. We are expecting Canavi to do something because he's really good at early snowball on that Lee Sim. See what he can do.
For all that we've seen, good trades from FPX in the bot lane. Credit over to Ruler again, of course, for maintaining his inevitably good CS. Is doing very well to stay even with the Ezreal on the whole, and that's good news for JDG, who are keeping the gold within touching distance. Only a couple hundred gold, in fact, in favor of FPX, despite the kills, because the laning has been really super, particularly in top lane. But of course, that shouldn't surprise you.
So, CDC losing handily in this top side, which is something which we expect from JDG. The second string to JDG's bow, outside of Canavi's early game, what they turn to next is just that big mid-game team fight. If Sheer has a lot of gold, that becomes even more potent. The fact that Sheer can win lanes so easily and have been given such a strong laning matchup means that, you know, JDG are going to be in a good position to take that mid-game team fight, hopefully, for them. FPX needs to be very careful to not allow the big AoE combo coming through at some point. And then you could be around that second grub spawn coming up in the next couple of minutes. That would be largely where I'd expect it to happen.
That will be a note in the diary, such as it is. I don't tend to do my diaries by 2-minute slots, but perhaps I should for League of Legends, make my life a little easier. But you're right, 2 minutes on the Dragon, just over 2 minutes on the grubs as well, and one or the other will likely be something of a contest, you have to imagine. FPX currently with a little bit of shove in bot side of Ruler, just waiting for the wave to crash under the turret to secure that wave.
Mid lane, we did say the press the attack trades tend to be pretty good in terms of the burst from Care, but yeah, Yagao's been doing completely fine. Jumps forward again, has Canavi in the back pocket, stay safeguard. Has been you can get themselves a winning trade. Milky Way stood there just waiting to see if he can put down a good minefield. Blocks out for Care. Both junglers making sure that the mid lane doesn't get too spicy. Babysitting it just a little bit.
Yeah, nice positioning off vision there as well. And I think Canavi wisely doesn't continue to chase on forwards. But now we got to look onto Yagao. Could be in danger. Flashes away from a seismic shove that Milky Way tried to read. Flashes himself in the queue afterwards. And it all goes wrong. Canavi in danger though. Flashing away from the root. Another jump forward. Can't jump out again afterwards. And now Missing comes crashing on down. Yagao gets hit with a depth charge to allow life to try and escape. But there is a magnet storm that drags the Metal Man back towards the mid laner. It'll still be missing the pick stack kill up.
Yeah, everyone knew something was going to happen mid lane. It just happens a wave later than both teams expected it to. Canavi gets the early game kills he was looking for. Ruler misses his ult onto Doctam, so no kill pressure there. Didn't quite manage to tag him. You need to tag a champion to make sure you get that continued kind of like buffs from that champion. JDG, though, getting themselves big kills onto the Corki, who then stays alive afterwards to then make sure that Care can't get full CS after that point.
Gets the W, the Q's going wide, got a barrier for barrier, traded so close, there's no mana! The Ezreal can't Q!
Misses the skill shot, Ruler hits his, Doctam goes down, Ruler wins the honorable 1v1 amongst the AD carries.
Oh dear.
So, you know what? I actually don't think that was about mana. I think that was him missing the Q. It means that he doesn't get the cooldown back on that skill, doesn't go down, got themselves the combo in the jungle.
Some damage onto Missing, who's yet to get an aftershock, but a hop on fours, there's still the charge available. Yagao now over the wall himself with the Valkyrie into 3v3. Hop away from Care, but still goes down as the autos come flying through for a Gatling gun. Everyone on JDG solo, but they just can't quite secure the kills. The threaded volley will finally get more, but Canavi can lifesteal alongside Yagao, and they win the skirmish.
JDG's early game has come to life. And it has been at the cost of poor FPX's mid and jungle. Care was, 2 kills on the board, now 2 deaths. Milky Way not able to outplay Canavi for the second time. They're going to now walk away, or JDG, with a full house of grubs as well. Grubbageddon is here, batten down the hatches, close your windows. JDG very much coming to stomp through this early game.
Well, the Chemtech Dragon of Val, it might well just be Plants versus Zombies at this point. The grubs coming on through. FPX are coming on over the toe to try and fight this. And remember, a lot was burned in that last play. Grub number 5 will likely be secured, is done so. Missing, looking for an engage. The Rumble Equalizer, first of the game used. The Minefield comes on down to try and prevent any easy access through.
So the big thing is Canavi didn't use his smite on the last grub, so he ends up, he can save it for this one. That's the reason why things got a little bit spicy just before that. Doctam was looking for an EQ steal, now Missing's overstayed.
Yeah, he's dead, and that will likely lead to the Dragon on the other side. The Nautilus picking up a 3rd kill, though, is really frustrating. Any one of those onto the Talia or the Tristana or any of the other members, frankly, would have been valuable at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this is a great time to talk about Yagao, currently sat as 3-0-3, getting himself solo lane farm, getting himself such a large amount of gold. Yagao, I think of 2022 and before, and even large amounts of spring in 2023, when of course that BLG roster kind of came to life. Yagao was considered this player that was kind of middling, but clutch in playoffs. I think Yagao has gone from being a player which was, lower down the tier list to someone who is genuinely such a huge carry for his teams now. Look at this play right here. Yagao for JDG, been so good. 3-man Foss Bomb. We're at level 9. The max rank Foss Bomb, the most powerful point in the game for that particular point. Yagao has been doing so much work. And once again, he plays out the margin of error really well. He has more than enough HP to work it through here, even gets himself double buffs after that point. Another great showing from Yagao. For me, I think he might even be just the 4th best mid laner in the LPL right now, which sometimes he's struggled to break that margin.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable point, and obviously Milky Way avoids every skill shot but that Foss Bomb, but auto attack damage with Red Buff and Gatling Gun is just way too much to manage there. He goes down as well, especially after Care couldn't quite escape the DPS, having hopped forward to try and secure the kill onto Missing, and did lead to the advantage there for JDG, who are up. Blink and you miss it, 3,000 gold.
So much of that is into a Corki, and Shears on the other side of that too.
Yeah.
The first equalizer of the game wasn't necessarily there for kills. I think it was completely fine to just zone them off for the grubs. And JDG, we said there are 2 real big identifying factors about them. Is that one, Canavi can blow open the early game. Okay, he's done that now. Yes, he's had 2 deaths, but he has still blown things open for his lanes. And the second thing is their first big mid-game team fight of the game tends to be so destructive. So if JDG can manage that through these solo lane advantages, I really do think that FPX are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Also, it's a 20 CS lead, which is notable, but there's 1 plate, and of course no kills going over the way of Sheer. It's just first strike gold that he's gotten the advantage of, as there's a bit of a look in here around a Herald spawn, but there's not too much more there. There's no fight as yet. Mid lane control now being fought over, and this Rumble getting so much value could still be very scary.
Really look at that flash from Missing. He's going to Fog of War, has to face check, escapes the combo. Milky Way not tagging it.
Managed to get the engage afterwards, though. Missing alongside the Rumble Equalizer, getting so much damage down already. Life is not living up to his namesake. ZDZ teleports in and immediately regrets his options, has to back away. Milky Way hit with the extendo beam, as Atlas loves to call it. Ruler gliding over the wall with the spark surge. I'll get it right this time around. Ruler so low! Does go down. Care gets the reset. Jumping on over. Canavi looking for the Q. Can't quite land it. Still speeding up alongside the smite. Slow means Care nowhere to go. No buster shot available. And a crippling strike will bring down the Yordle Gunner.
I think the fight could still keep going as well. As FPX do not want to give up the Herald. They might not have a choice, though.
But he's so low already. Canavi picks that one. The damage onto Yagao. Oh, sorry, Ruler. I apologize. Sheer trying to do so much work is missing in the backline to get a triple kill for Canavi. Yagao flashes to secure another. Life backs away, and JDG are just imperious in these skirmishes.
Canavi walks away with a Quadra kill at 15 minutes. JDG, so often they rely on the man in the jungle, and Canavi proves that faith absolutely worthy. JDG, they have found their early game advantages, which they so often get through this Lee Sin. They get themselves huge kills. They don't get themselves the Herald somehow through that, but FPX, they are still left reeling.
What an insane sequence there from the side of Canavi. It was looking pretty okay there for a moment for FPX, and it all goes wrong.
Yeah, so the big thing is the combo doesn't hit onto missing. He's full HP, which means he can continually just go for this big play. The equalizer is put just behind the Tristana, so she has to jump through it as well for an extra tick. And it's just, what do you do now that you don't have your big engage, and it feels like the extra mobility from JDG comes to the fore? You have a Canavi Lee Sin who's doing ridiculous things, Ruler hopping over walls, the Corki doing the same. Ruler had barrier, by the way. Could have just pressed that and won that 1v1, just chose not to. He just chose to die, I guess, but all the same. Ruler, misplay. Canavi picks up the pieces. Good old Canavi. You know he'll absolutely come a-calling on that Lee Sin.
Picture in picture, the Weaver's Wall comes down. That will likely be a shutdown onto Sheer going the way of Milky Way. Necessary after this skirmish went so wrong.
Yeah, it did. So that's going to be something in the picture in picture, as we saw. At least Canavi gets himself onto that Quadra kill. Some decent turnback kills from FPX, but they are still losing these fights very, very heavily. Herald now in pocket. That they don't even need it for this mid lane. They had those 6 grubs. JDG exploding now.
Now you've got 2 items on this Lee Sin who's happily snowballing. Yagao getting towards the Muramana transformation as well. They might even get a tier 2. They'll just get a chunk for now. I think FPX will be able to come on over and put enough pressure down to prevent them sticking around for another wave. Care will get that bot lane tier 1, but Yagao all the while shoving up here in the top side as well. And the gold lead continues to expand. Blink again and you miss it. It's another 3,000 gold on top of the 3,000 they had. A 6,000 gold lead for GDG at this point in the game.
And the big problem is so much of that gold is in the Corki, who FPX haven't even killed yet. It keeps coming back around to this question of, you know, I think last year, if you watched in spring or if you knew Yagao from the past, I mean, it took Yagao, God, how many years? Something like 3-4 years to get himself an all-pro mid lane. At all. He was so kind of like hit and miss in the regular season. He only really turned up for the playoffs, and his laning phase a little bit all over the place. That a lot of the time, he wasn't that valued by the community. I think he has grown into being a much more consistent carry. I think that even in this group stage, Yagao has been so good on the Azir, the Tristana. His Corki's been great too. He's been looking, I mean, so often he was compared to Knight because they come from the same hometown. He's looking better than Knight right now, folks. Yeah. Knight's been downturning in form, but Yagao, I really think this guy's on a renaissance. He's almost at 3 items already, 320 minutes, has the Muramana transformation. I love watching this guy play alongside Canavi, the jungler which is so often chosen to play with Yagao as a player, you know?
And the synergy there coming out to play in a lot of these skirmishes, they have looked really on the same page, and they have earned themselves a mighty lead in this game. It's only continued to balloon as more and more of these turrets fall.
So JDG, they're in force on bot side. They have a teleport on Sheer if they need to, and they have the Herald going straight towards this. Canavi might get caught out here.
Canavi gets shot back under the turret, will likely be all out in trying to hop away. Pulled out of his ward, hop goes down.
Canavi, buddy, that's the dangerous form of this. Now Care coming in with the teleport. Yagao, use that Valkyrie. Here comes the Buster Shot.
The Magnus Storm is shot, and the Buster Shot brings the Corki back towards the rest of the team.
Corki goes down, and that carry in the mid lane caught a little bit out alongside that jungler we were just praising. It was a Herald too far. Really didn't need that to be slamming in. Should have just let it auto charge. Canavi, for such a good early game, not the best to throw over such a large amount of gold on the other side. JDG still get the inner turret though.
They're going to get an inner turret top side as well, so JDG still punished for the commitment onto their members. And Ruler just wasn't there. It's like, look, I'm going to get this tier 1. I'll get to go towards tier 2. So it still ends up being an okay trade for JDG, who I think still extended the gold lead regardless because of the tier 2s going down.
Well, with the 2 kills going across, it's still
Shut
something.
Down as well,
yeah, so inner turret gold will be more, but it's also, that's gold which JDG can't get again because you don't have, infinite amount of turrets to take for that gold. Now, we have Baron spawning, and FPX, they are still within fighting range of JDG. It can be difficult. It's definitely difficult, but it's within fighting range. Canavi does get himself that blue buff, and it's a team-wide blue buff now, remember, because it's beyond that 20 minutes. Going to be there for everyone. Now, FPX, you need to be careful here, guys. You've got Sheer missing up here. Missing has Flash, and Engage could come in at any moment.
3v3 potential. Care roaming on down to increase the numbers for FPX briefly, but no one pulls the trigger quite yet.
Okay, so JDG walking up into their own top side jungle. FPX, they are getting themselves now into a point where they have the 2 items on Ezreal. In fact, just ticked over now. So Ezreal now strong enough. Dogdam, I haven't really had to talk about him too much. Now, Ruler is 2k up somehow here, which does mean that Dogdam on the Ezreal is really taking a backseat in terms of, well, probably all 3 AD carries on the Rift right now. Corki Tristana, stronger than him. You got the Zeri, stronger than him because of the gold advantage.
It's Tristana as
but
well,
still, even with that, Ezreal with 2 item spike just does 2 item Ezreal spike things. So Dogdam, a chance to maybe prove his quality beyond this point. Why are we watching this again? Well, it's because LPL observers, they are... Wait, hang on, what did they do here? So, they kill the turret. They drive it all the way through. I mean, Canavi, buddy, like, that's just so greedy.
And that's really nice angle from ZDZ as well, actually. There's just no way out. And then the teleport behind. I think they're a little bit unfortunate not to get missing as well here, honestly.
Well, they weren't aiming for him. The Buster Shot doesn't tag him. At the end of the day, taking that 2 carries is way more important.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could maybe say the Buster Shot potentially could have hit 2 people. It's quite hard to get that multi-man Buster Shot, though, and they'll take the 2 kills against the run of the game so far. They'll take that very happily.
An important kill to go towards Care, who is at 4 kills himself, so at least getting some of that gold valuable here as Life stunned up briefly, but both forced doing that as a kick onto Care, but Canavi stunned up by the Unraveled Earth, gets knocked up with a Death Charge. The Equalizer not fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know about that Equalizer. Sheer not really impacting the game quite as much as you would like to at that point, but, well, whatever. JDG, they don't walk away with any kills. They take away the inner turret all the same, so they're still, again, increasing the gold lead, even if the team fighting ultimate from that Rumble wasn't quite on point. This is one of the things about playing against JDG, is that it does feel like once they get through into the mid-game, they don't always explode, but they do tend to just kind of break you apart. They're not necessarily as fast-paced as other LPL teams, but they are still very, very good at clawing forwards in bits and pieces.
So, we take a moment to hold on here as Baron's alive, and JDG with their gold lead could certainly look to get involved with that. 2 items at least completed across the board pretty much for FPX. I'll note the ZDZ not there yet, which would be a really nice point to hit. Would love that Frostfire Gauntlet in inventory. Can't be miles off. I wonder, in fact, whether off this next reset he should have it.
He's a long way down in gold. It is quite hard to tell. He probably still should have it on this bag, but will that be enough? I really don't see Kastane having a good time in this game. He's against a whole lot of people that can either kick him or disengage from him. You're against, I mean, the Rumble's effectively a ranged champion, and then you've got 2 AD carries, which are mobile in their own right. Ruler, once he pops that ult, is very, very hard to shut down. FPX, what they realistically need is to kill off Missing or Canavi at the start of things to make sure that JDG don't have the engage to threaten. That's how a team fight should look from FPX. If ZDZ can help kill off that engager by, again, all-outing them back into the team, maybe that can change things. I think a lot of this comes through from Life and Milky Way, though. If they can get themselves a big combo, shut down Missing before he can get a big engage for the Equalizer to follow up on top of it, I think that's where we'll see the big advantages gained from FPX, if they can do it all.
Will be the dream. See Care trying to shove out that top lane. And again, both those outer turrets being down for FPX makes it a little harder for Care to realistically go and contest those tier 2s right now. Tempted to steal from Dogdam onto the Mountain Dragon that was being soloed by the Corki, so there was no smite to compete with, but was just slightly off on the timer.
So, 2 Mountain Dragons there for JDG onto Soul Point. That'll be very important for them. FPX do not have themselves that many macro kind of like options to them now. This is a big problem.
I'm also looking here at 210 CS a minute on this Corki.
Yeah.
Look at Ruler's CS.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, right.
24 minutes.
Right. That's 300 CS in 24 minutes. I hadn't quite realized that.
Yeah.
I mean, Ruler is just, I mean, dude's playing Stardew Valley. He's just sat there.
I know, right?
He's got his chickens, he's got his crops, he is fishing. This dude is just playing another minigame. He sat there, he's like, you know what? I'm happy. Learning from, just gaining from the land.
Yeah, apparently so is Care. Maybe needs to live up to his namesake. Will hop and bust a shot missing away. Yagao did teleport in there. Ultimate down for Care and trade for the TP, but it means that JDG are going to be in position around this Baron that spawned a Ruler at 3 items at this point in the game. With all of that CS we've been talking about, could definitely be itching for a fight.
Yeah, I think you have the item breakpoints now. I think JDG, look, folks, there is something to say, get your items and then look for the baits. They get themselves this dragon down here while we're saying about everything. I mean, folks, are we really just seeing just the cat? Wait, Dr. fired the ultimate.
Saying, yeah.
Right, okay. Oh, right.
Ooh,
okay, that was close. Yeah, I was looking at items and stuff at the same time, so I was like, whatever. I kind of zoned out.
Don't worry, I
briefly.
called out.
Cool.
All
right,
at least
well,
the chat got
I'm glad one of us paid attention to what I was saying. But look, JDG have their items down.
Yeah.
I think JDG, now they need to start forcing things. They're not always the most proactive engaged team. They don't find those engages in the same way like a lot of our other top teams. But I think now they have the items, you want to start going towards this Baron, seeing if you can force FPX to make a mistake, at least get a teleport out of them so they can't play around side lanes. And then I think that'll be when JDG should be looking to end the game realistically with a big team fight. They can do that now. The Dragon's coming up in 3 minutes. They could also look for that Mountain Soul, but they have all of the tools available to look for the big fights which could win the game.
Care at least has got a third item complete as well. So it's Tristana an edge away from level 16, which would be a really nice power spike and the range increase as well at that point. Really good for you on that draw the bead. Passive shear. Off vision, looking for a good angle for an ultimate.
Can't really get anyone but add ZDZ in that point. Care on the flank. We need to see whether FPX's carries can get themselves into a position so they're not clumped up with the engage. Really hard for them to do that though without leaving themselves at the whims of the Lee Sin. I think JDG's comp, it's quite advanced in that regards, to if you end up clumping up, yes, you're going to get murdered by big ultimates, but if you split and Canavi's nearby, or Ruler or Yagao nearby too, I think they have the stats to really just run you down. It means that FPX are going to have really difficult time team fighting. What does a good team fight shape look for them? It really comes back to this point about me thinking that you kind of just need to kill missing in a freak pick from the Nautilus, plus Tristana plus Talia combo. Otherwise, it's really hard to find a clean 5-on-5 team fight.
Maybe if you have some way of murdering Yagao when overshoving a lane somewhere or something like that, but that's just so much easier said than done. Of course, it's not like you scale poorly. The Talia nearly at a third item. You've got a third item now for the Ezreal. 3 items done for the Tristana. So you've at least got damage available. But it's just into a third item on the Lee Sin, including the GA, so the ability to pick off Canavi, which has been something of an angle for FPX before this. Not so realistic anymore. You've got the 2 the last Whispers in for the double AD carries, which makes ZDZ's life a lot harder, Life's life a lot harder.
Yeah, basically, any way you put it, not great for FPX right now. I do think that JDG, they've slowed down the game. They've not really done the best at making sure they can play around Baron. Care looking for a side lane play. He's very strong.
Equalize is good. Damage back is solid. Boss a shot away. Needs to be a bit afraid here, but the healing with the Bloodthirster is good. Stopwatch from Sheer. Flash still burned from Care, and all the while in the picture-in-picture.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone dying.
JDG just kill everyone on top side. Ruler pulls the barrier this time, lives through the AD carry 1v1. We focused on the 1v1 in bot side. What happened on top side? JDG just ended the game.
How the hell did they manage that one?
They spot Care in the bot side. He jumps in and JDG realizes, right, there's no Tristana. You don't have the damage. Eat dirt. FPX get absolutely punched in the face around the top side of the map.
Everyone's dead. Care's alive, yeah, but they just walk through mid lane. The picture-in-picture comes like, it's be another side skirmish. No, it's not. It's the game-ending moment. Missing goes on forwards. Care just about alive, but it does not matter. The game is over. Blink and you miss it. JDG were playing it slow for a moment or two, and they find the one moment, and it's lights out. They win game 1.
JDG, blink and you miss it. Take away game 1 versus Fun Plus Phoenix. It wasn't really a contest. FPX, ever since they gave over the Quadra kill over to Canavi on that Lee Sin, it felt like the game was effectively dead to rights, and indeed it was. FPX left kind of just sucker punched. We knew that they'd lost this matchup twice in group stage, but this one felt like the most dominant yet. The early game was so dominant from JDG, and particularly Canavi. Once again, folks, hello, welcome back. I'm Nymaera. I'm also known as Alex. This is Sam, also known as Initialise. Wick Brothers, we cast together, and this is the